Unboxing of the ADX10 rotary three-phase converter by American Rotary. And this is not a paid sponsorship. This is my own personal home shop. And I just installed a sub panel running 240 volt at 130 amp out here. And my lathe, which is a 14 by 44 Takisawa lathe, requires three-phase power. And I found American Rotary. I liked what I seen. I called them up, I talked to them, and this is what they recommended for the high torque application that I have. But you know, you might have the same lathe. I would recommend that you call them, talk to them about what you have and what you need, because they've got a lot of different things going on. So this is just the unboxing, and there were two boxes. This is the lightest of the two, so we'll start with this one. And we got some wiring and accessories. This is gonna wire into the motor, I believe. Some brackets, some instructions and some additional parts. Looks like feet pads there. So that's the converter box. This is probably going to be mounted on the wall somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to put it yet, but it'll be over in this corner somewhere. So let's get the other box up here. It's a heavy one. This is the three-phase motor that's going to generate the electricity to run the lathe. And it's made by Baldor, and we're going to get this unboxed right now. This is the Baldor motor, and the way this works is your 240 volt wires into there, and then that wires into here. I don't know how it all works, but I'll get to the instructions and we'll get this all assembled and put together. But this is what's making the power. So you're basically energizing the coils in here, and then the motor needs to kick over. And I noticed on YouTube, a lot of people will use a separate motor to get the motor turning, because you have to get it started. Well, this power box has the capacitors to get this going, so you don't need to mess with anything. And then you'll also notice there's nothing coming out of the ends, because there doesn't need to be. So these run really quiet, and this is twice the size of the motor that I have in my lathe. It's well, they look close to the same size, but the horsepower and torque are two different ratings. The motor in my lathe is only a 5 horsepower. This is a 10, so it should run this just fine. And look, you got a little hook. You can hook your sky crane to it. And I'm going to mount it just below the sub panel, because that's where everything is coming in at. So it'll be a perfect spot in the shop right there in the corner. So if you have a shop and you need three-phase power, you know, I would honestly recommend not doing the YouTube route for a number of issues. You know, this was only, I think, out the door like $13.50 for the whole thing. And I mean, if you're gonna do what the YouTube DIY stuff is, I mean, I'm certain you're gonna pay at least, you know, $800 to $1,000 trying to get that thing to work right. and then how many problems are you going to have, you know, messing with it and tweaking it. And you know, for $1,300, this is already done. All the math has been done, the work has been done. You got a solid system, all made in America, an American company, nothing from overseas anywhere. And you know, they were really helpful with me at American Rotary. And you know, the other thing with this is that the time it would have taken to do a DIY YouTube construction of one of these, which you can do if you want, is the amount of time. I mean, it would have been like 2 weeks to a month screwing with that until it got together. This, we ordered this, well, I can't remember what day, but it took 4 days to get here. So, and I didn't have to do anything, you know. So here it is. It's just wired up, mount it, hook it up, and we're ready to go. So this is the best, easiest solution for 3-phase power in your home shop is right here. So I can't thank American Rotary enough, man. This is a really good motor. It's made by Baldor, and they give you a good spec sheet, how to take care of it, everything that you need to know. This should be put away in your box somewhere. Don't ever get rid of this. And that's basically it. We're going to wire this up and get it installed and get the lathe wired up and get everything going. And I'm going to take you step by step through everything. I have to figure this out myself, so I got a bit of studying to do. And then we'll go through this, and I'll try my best not to leave anything out. Okay, so you're going to need a 3-phase sub panel to install this rotary converter. And I picked this one up off of Amazon only because I was in a hurry. Otherwise, I would have preferred to have gotten it off of a normal website. I would have had to have waited longer. Seems like the shipping wait off of company websites is close to 2 weeks, and Amazon I can get it within a 5-day period. So I'm not going to link into the description for this because this specific 3-phase panel, it's a Siemens panel. It's not as listed in the ad. What they list in the ad, they picture this one, but they say it's got copper buses, and this clearly does not have copper buses. It's got aluminum buses. So I'm not going to link it because of that. If you want to get this panel, it's a 12-space panel, and the catalog number is P12224L3125CU. This should be fine, you know, just because it's aluminum. This is fine. It'll power everything just fine. I've only got the lathe. I'm going to be adding a milling machine. The two are never going to be running at the same time anyway. It's only going to be one machine at a time. And if I'm lucky, next year I'll be able to add another machine, but that's probably going to be, you know, the most I'm ever going to add. So this you can mount either way, upside down, right side up. I'm going to be mounting mine upside down because everything is going to be mounted over on the floor. So I'm going to be going from this panel down, back up into this, and then from here over to the lathe. You need a 3-phase. This one requires a 25 to 30 amp 3-phase breaker. I couldn't find a 25 amp. I went ahead and ordered the 30 amp for this one. For this one, you need a 240 volt, 40 amp breaker for whatever box that you have. And then that's it. And the wiring is 10 gauge. That stuff there. It's pretty heavy duty, and it's 3-wire plus a ground, which is what you're going to need for this. So this is going to get mounted right next to my panel. And I didn't have any idea that I was going to be installing this. Otherwise, I would have planned ahead for this. So I got to do a little kachingering to get some plywood mounted up there to get this box mounted up. And then we've got some work to do on the ADX 10 setup itself. So we're going to get into that as well. This is the sub panel that I put in, and this is the slot that I saved for the ADX 10, and I wanted to put it up top here. I haven't really wired anything. All I have wired in is my welder right now. Nothing else is wired in here. So everything's going to come after this. So I wanted it up here because I figured this and the welder are the two things that are going to use up the most amps, and to have it up here close to the top I figure is the wisest thing. I don't know if it makes a difference. I think it does. And then I don't know which one of these yet. One is going to be my swamp cooler. The other is going to be something else. I don't know what I'm going to hook into that yet. And then I've got my normal 110s down there. So this is going to go right into the ADX 10, and then the ADX 10 will come out the 3-phase panel. So that's where I'm going to put the box, is right in here. I need to put some plywood over here, and if I had known I was going to do this, I would have just cut a big enough piece. I would have removed this. This really isn't going to be in the way. The way this is going to install, it'll fit right where I need it to. It'll fit right within, right in here, and should be right in there. That's where that'll fit. So that's where that'll go. Once the electricity is all finished off, this old stuff's coming out. This is what was in here, and it's really kind of dangerous. So that's why I did this. You know, I want to run my machinery. I want to have a safe environment. Don't need anything burning down or, you know, malfunctioning. So we're gonna get into this, and we're gonna work on getting this mounted up first, and then we're gonna get into wiring everything up. Now, as you can see, there's a number of things that came with this, and as you'll see here, there's these rubber feet, and they go on the bottom of that motor. We're gonna get those mounted up. This motor has to be isolated. You cannot bolt it to the floor. I wouldn't bolt it onto anything rigid. If you do need to bolt it down, then I would talk to American Rotary, call them up and tell them what you need to do, and then they'll advise you. But this does need to be vibration dampened. And I got the brackets to mount this on top of the motor, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to mount this separately, just thinking about, you know, the vibrations carrying through the motor into this. And I mean, this is a really well built motor, very super low vibration anyway. I'm sure if it was a problem, they would not have it so you could mount it like that. And I'm not saying it is a problem. I'm just decided I'm going to mount this separately just because that's what I want to do. So we're going to get all this going, and this is going to mount down right there. And then we'll wire it right up into there. And there you go with the feet on the motor. The vibration dampening feet. It's pretty soft rubber. Those should last a while. I'm going to mount mine on the ground. I'm going to have a piece of wood, and under the wood I'm going to have another rubber mat underneath that. So it'll be kind of like a double layer of vibration dampening for the motor. Okay, well that's where I'm going to be mounting the motor, and then right above that, right in there, is where the box is going to go, the control box, and then the 3-panel breaker box is going to go there. Okay, I'm gonna cinch this down, and I'm gonna write down that this goes to wire the A terminal, so that once I button this up, I don't forget. And you don't need to cinch down too hard on those. In addition to the electrical tape, which you have to wrap this with, I also have this cloth electrical tape, which I'm going to wrap around the electrical tape, and this is going to prevent the electrical tape from coming undone. This stuff works really good. It's kind of like gaffer's tape in a way. It probably is, I don't know. This should help give it a little extra abrasion resistance as well. Just like that, that's it. So this should not, electrical tape over a certain amount of time, not too long a time, it'll come undone and start loosening up and all that garbage. This cloth stuff will keep it from doing that. And then, like I said, it'll give it a more abrasion resistance while it's packed away in there. So now I just need to mark or write down that the white wire is going to go to terminal A. Now it says locate the B terminal, which is that one. Let's see if we can get you in focus here. There's the A terminal. There's the B terminal right there in the middle. This wire should connect to wires 2 and 8 inside the idler junction box. There's number 2 and there's number 8. So again, it doesn't matter which wire we select. We're just gonna select any old good wire here, and we're gonna go with it. I think we'll go with yeah, let's go with the black. Then we're going to go ahead and write down black is going to go to B. And then we're on the C terminal, which is this third one here. And we're going to connect a wire to 3 and 9 inside the idler box. That's this one here, 3 and 9. And we'll go ahead and since the green is ground, we'll select this one here. So the red wire is going to go to C. We'll write that down so we don't forget. Now, if you were mounting this on top of the motor here, I mean, you could just go ahead and wire it up right away. But since I'm not doing that, it's making it a little more complicated, but that is what it is. So we'll go ahead and get this ground hooked up. And then these 3 wires need to be hooked up. There it is. This can get all buttoned up now, so we know where our wires are going into here, and then our ground is going to connect to one of those. So we'll get this all buttoned up and out of the way. There you go, that part's done. All right, we got our card where the wires go. We got our wires. We got our motor down here. I knocked the hole out for where this is going to go through. I knocked the hole out for where the 240 volts is going to come in. And then we'll get this done, and then we'll start on this up here. So the first thing we're going to do is clamp this wire in, and then we'll start stripping our wires and getting them hooked in there. So A is hidden right back here. There's a little knockout right here. And there, it's hard to see, but there's A. So that's the one we're going to connect first. That's going to be the white wire that I designated. It could be any color that you designated, but I chose the white. So that's the one I'm going to go with. Next one is black to terminal B, which is this one here. And then the red is going to go to this one, terminal C. And you see we got two different things going on here, because one of these, this one is the out for the three-phase. So you're going to use one of these, and then the others are going to go to ground and then out to three-phase. So that's it. You won't need to mess with this until you're ready to put the other wiring in for the three-phase going to the panel. So we'll get to that. You got to be sure that you do your ground. Everything has to be grounded. And you've got two grounds here. So we're going to go ahead and use, I don't know if you can see that. Got ground right there. And that's it. That's the motor the motor box, the wiring right into here. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to come up here and we're going to install the 240 volt into the system, and then get the 3 wires ran up to the box. Okay, so now that we got the wiring done down there at the motor, it's time to install the feed electrical. And what I put in here is a 40 amp 240 volt breaker, and I'm running my wire, and this is 6 gauge stranded right here, heavy strand. It's not solid. And so I measured it out and I got my lengths cut, and then I'm mocking it up and getting it ready to install. It's going to be a little complicated, but I'll show you why here in a second. So this is my main panel in the garage. It's a sub panel coming from the house, and I just want to make sure I got enough juice. I mean, I could probably run this with 8 or 10, but I want to make sure there's enough current getting to where it needs to go. The wire that I'm going to run from the 3-phase panel to the lathe will be 10 gauge wire, and I think that'll be fine. But for this, where we're talking the power generation and power supply, I just feel a lot more comfortable with this here. So this is what I mocked up for feeding the wire everywhere it needs to go. So right along here, I'm going to have 6 wires going in there, into here, and then 2 are going to feed, 2 from the panel are going to feed those 2 things right there, and then the 3-phase is going to feed from down here up into the 3-phase panel right there. So it's going to be a little tight right in here, but shouldn't be any problem over here. But yeah, I went ahead and mocked that up first just to make sure it's what I wanted. And it's a little spaghetti-ish, but it's like I said, I wasn't sure what I was going to do yet. I probably should have waited, but it's not too bad. It'll work fine. I'm not in a mode to undo everything and then redesign the installation and start reinstalling stuff. I just don't have the time for it. So this will work just fine. And okay, so this is the 3-phase panel. The wire is going to come up through here, plug into there, and that's going to feed my breaker, and then that is going to feed my lathe, and I'm going to go up with the wires. This is why I mounted this upside down, because power coming in is down there. There's no point in, making the wire come all the way around up to the top. And the other reason is I'm going to be wiring my machines from the top. So the conduit's going to run up the wall, on the ceiling, over the machine, and then the machines are going to be wired up from ceiling conduit. So that way, everything's out of the way. I don't have a lot of room here, so I've got to be careful with my design and what I'm doing. So that's actually perfect. It'll be out of the way. It leaves me, flexibility and room to continue with other wiring projects I have going on. I've got outlets I need to put out in the garage, and I've also got lighting I need to put up still. So this will run my machine. I've also got 2 of the 3-phase breakers. So right now I'm going to be running my metal lathe, and then eventually I'm going to be running a milling machine. So I'll be preparing for that later on, but kind of thinking about it as we're going here. So I got the 2 wires here, I got my ground wire, and for this you're not going to hook into the neutral on this. It's not needed, but you do need to be grounded, and so you need to watch your grounds. And for this one, I didn't have a green wire, all I had was a white one, so the red and black is the hot, and on this the white is the neutral. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff fed in here and get this going. So there's the two hot and the ground going into a conduit box. The conduit's gonna come over to there. That wire's gonna continue on through there. So that's where I'm at so far, and this wire's a pain in the butt, to be sure. All right, so there's some of it. Pretty much got it all into conduit. It was not easy. This last bend over here was pretty tough. So now we're just gonna wire everything up into here, and then we'll be left with the three-phase panel, and we'll be all done. So this is coming from the 240 volt main panel in there and there. And then this is what I'm using for my ground. I didn't have a green wire. Came with the white, so that's the ground. And then this is going to go to here, to here, and to here. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, so here we got from this main panel. This is from the main panel. This is going to the three-phase sub-panel. This is going to the three-phase sub-panel. So it's sharing the 240 volt. So you're putting that into, and then this is what the system is putting in right here. And that'll register 240 volts as well. So that's how that gets wired up. So that is all done. So there it is. Hot, hot, and from the converter hot. All the wiring's done. All that's left now is to fire this up and put the voltmeter on here and see what we're getting. All right, we got it wired up. It's hot, it's live, power's on. I'm going to see if this thing will start. Wow, looks like it's going. Let's see if we got voltage. All right, so we'll test the hot lugs first. $118, $118, and $213, and that's actually, from what I understand about this, that's correct. So when this runs under load, that number is going to go down. So let me bring that back up. 213, that's quite a bit. So when this is under load, that's going to go down and should average out. So that's good. We got the wiring correct. It's running.